Hey guys, Horrific LV here, and as promised, I have a small video for you guys just going over some small patch notes. I had just finished making that last video I posted on Welkin gameplay and his kit, and literally before I could get it out to you, they changed some patch notes and made some changes. Also, if you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot in getting this content to you guys. So we're going to break down those changes here. I've got some new gameplay, and I also want to add probably the most important thing. I did finally find the culprit as to why some of my gameplay footage was coming out really pixelated despite it being in 2K. I really couldn't figure out what the issue was, but I think that I've nailed it, so this content should look much, much, much better. So first I want to say that everything I said in my last video still holds 100% true here. Nothing has really changed too much with Welkin's kit. The only thing that's different is you will be punished for being careless with your energy usage. That was already something that you had to be mindful of when using Welkin, but now his spin, you can't just go in there and start swinging like there's no tomorrow, not even looking at what you're doing. You'll even see in my last video, I do that all the time if there's more than one enemy or if I've lost track. Sometimes I just swing that axe and hope for the best. Well, now with those patch notes, you're gonna get punished for that. You really do have to hone in on that target, and this is gonna force you to just utilize that howitzer a little more. You'll see here that I will start with the axe, and as soon as I lose track of the enemy or if I feel overwhelmed, instead of before where I would just start swinging, I'm going to back off a little bit, get some howitzer shots in, recharge some fuel, maybe get some shields and some cooldowns going, and then I'm going to dive right back in there and start swinging again. I will say too that this has made me start utilizing the normal slashes from the axe a little bit more than the spins. They're just a little bit better targeted. They still do a nice chunk of damage. They can still stagger. So it's still an extremely useful method to using Welkin's kit. So let's talk Welkin. Welkin is right now the current king of frontline aggression. Really, the only close competitors are gonna be the Elysinus and the Panther, your other brawlers, but they just don't fulfill that role as well as the Welkin does. The Panther is extremely good at breaking into the backline, but once you're back there, you're very limited in what you can do. The Panther exceeds on preying on weak enemies or really getting those stuns in. If you get stuck, it is really hard to escape. Whereas the Welkin has the howitzer to do damage while you're closing in range. He's got plenty of shield options. The axe is just devastating. He's just more well-rounded once he's back behind enemy lines of holding his own and just wreaking havoc on the enemy's backline. So it's no surprise here that we're seeing a nerf to Welkin, while we're seeing buffs to Elysinus and other mechs that have just struggled to really assert their dominance on the battlefield. At the end of my video, I will go over all of the patch notes. I'm going to start with the Welkin because that's the content that we just did, but before the video's over, I will break down everything that's different so you guys will be prepared no matter who you play. So first up, the defensive force field. Your main form of defense is getting a cut down from 12 seconds to 8. Now, 4 seconds is a lifetime in the battlefield, so I even mentioned in my first video of how important it is to use this sparingly. Well, now even more so, you really have to be mindful of utilizing that shield to parry other melees, to give yourself an exit when you're getting shot at by heavy fire by either a Tricera or a Falcon that's hunting you down. You just really want to have that in your back pocket at all times possible for when you need to survive. It's also worth noting that because of the cooldown refund mechanic, this is also going to reduce that as well, so you want to cancel it as soon as you're done using it to make sure that you have it back as soon as you need it. Now, as mentioned, you are going to be using your regular axe combos a lot more frequently instead of just spinning, now that you'll have an energy punishment for blindly spinning that axe. But that primary axe still does get a slight damage reduction, so you still have to be more mindful of that as well. Your spins are going to cost more energy, and your primary axe is going to do less damage. So keep that in mind when you're balancing your combos. So now your second hit actually drops from 14k damage to 13k. The third hit drops from 17k to 16k. So this is still super powerful, but you're definitely going to feel it in those longer drawn out fights that you're just not chipping away as much damage, especially when you're low on fuel and your cooldowns are down and maybe you're not getting some heals. That extra little bit of damage is really going to be noticeable. And again, that spinning slash energy cost is getting bumped from 5,800 all the way up to 6,500. That is a massive punishment. you really do have to be strategic about utilizing your axe, because you do not want to find yourself stuck behind the enemy lines with a couple rounds in your howitzer and no shields, no gas to get out, and you're just stuck there. So again, Welkin is still super strong. I played him all morning and I felt exactly as devastating as I did before the nerfs, so as long as you're utilizing your energy efficiently, you're still going to be a force to be reckoned with here. And now for the rest of those balance updates, we have some major changes across the board, especially for the likes of Falcon and Elysinus, while we do have some nerfs for some of the tankier options like Tricera. So, one of the most important other updates here outside of the Welkin, in my opinion, is the huge buff to Falcon. Falcon was my favorite mech when the game first came out. I had so much fun with it, but as people started to get better at the game, I very quickly realized that I was kind of just target practice flying around up there, and it was really hard to make impactful plays unless my team was doing really good at whittling away at the enemy's health and I could dive in and finish off the kills. One of the biggest things that's going to help Falcon out is you can now finally get cooldown refund for his recon kit. Now this is extremely important because Falcon relies on a lock-on in order to shoot his missiles, which are one of his most damaging kit options. Locking on manually can take a long time, especially if you're flying around in circles, if you're under fire, you're having to dodge and get out of the way. But his recon kit does an automatic lock on, allowing you to shoot those missiles way sooner and cycle into your guns and just chip that damage away a lot more smoothly. So now deactivating early reduces your cooldown by 2.5 seconds for every second that you didn't use it. This is going to be super impactful, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be quite enough to bring Falcon up to the meta yet. I think some of the other mechs are just a little too strong in countering him still, but until we see some other nerfs and balancing updates, I don't think you're going to see too many Falcons wreaking havoc, but the ones that have been maining Falcon from launch will definitely benefit from these updates. Now, the second buff is really going to help alleviate Welkin's role as the only line breaker, and it's going to help Elysinus satisfy that role a little bit better as well. It's a small but meaningful buff. The ground energy regen goes up from 8,800 to 9,100. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but think about any time that you've ever been just stuck in there with the enemy and all you have is your gun and you're just not doing a lot of damage and you're waiting on your energy to regen. Having that regen that much quicker is going to help you sustain those longer fights, get in and out a little bit easier, and just make you that much more impactful. A lot of the tankier mechs have been a little bit on the cheesier side all the way back since the playtest, all the way through the beta, and that still has not changed until now. Tricera, Stego, and unfortunately Welkin definitely got some much needed nerfs here. The Tricera nerfs are aimed at making it less of a hard counter to that Falcon, aiming to just make Falcon a little bit more feasible. So the fluid armor regen delay increased from 3.8 seconds to 4.2. The anti-missile drones now fire slower at a 0.2 second interval. Drones only reload when not in turret form. And all this is really doing is just making sure that you require a little bit more thought and skill rather than just being able to cheese easy kills and tank that damage without having to do much on your end. Now for the Stego, the nerfs are going to be really focused on its smoke screen. It got a decreased duration from 3 seconds to 1.5, so cut in half. The haze diffuser cooldown is now 30 seconds up from 22 seconds, and your rotation speed has been slowed as well, so it's not as easy to spin around and aim at your targets. So you'll have to be a lot more precise with your cover game. You won't be able to just spam smokes to survive those longer fights. You'll have to smoke and really get out. Another nice nerf that I think I will enjoy myself is the Narukami. Narukami, again, I really do enjoy playing, but it's hard to feel like I was making a big impact. So in that vein, the Narukami buffs have been geared towards more team-focused gameplay. The decoy drone, deploy, and recall distance has actually been increased, helping you stay hidden and move around a little bit better. The total energy has been bumped from 17k to 20k, and your jump height has been bumped up from 70 to 78. And your stealth bubble can now be cast on teammates within a 300-meter range. That means stealth builds just got way more viable and way more team-focused, where before they were a lot more selfish. I haven't played Narukami too much, but from what I have played, I know that these changes are going to feel so good, and I know the people that have stayed true to Narukami from the beginning are going to love these changes. I love seeing them get a nice bump up, because Narukami is one of my favorite mechs in the game aesthetically, and it's one of the nicest looking to customize, so I'm very happy to see these changes and move him up in the meta. Next up, we have the Hurricane. The Hurricane has just been falling short as a tank underneath the Tricera and the Stego. Obviously, the nerfs on both of those mechs are going to help balance this out a little bit, but the Hurricane also got some buffs to help it out as well. Its main weapon damage is up to 14k from 12k. Its stationary DPS is up to 1900 per tick versus 1500 per tick. Its main weapon reload time did get a slight nerf to compensate for this, but your force field drone can now shield allies, and your decoys trigger on melee and immobilize for 1.6 seconds. So these changes are really going to make the Hurricane deal a lot more damage, but all with a slightly slower cycle, so you'll have to be strategic about the damage that you're dealing, and really make sure that you're hitting your shots. The Sky Raider got a little bit of a mix of buffs and nerfs to help keep it a little bit more balanced, and I think help the Falcon rise up the ranks a little bit. In my opinion, I think the Flyers are still struggling due mostly to the map design more than their kits. Some of the maps are really hard to do much while you're flying around because of some of the closed off areas, but I think some of these changes will help them shine a little bit better. So the Sky Raider starts with a damage buff on its missiles up to 3200 per tick from 3000. But your anti-missile drones do no longer regen energy mid-flight, so you will have to disengage to regen your missile drones. The disruption missile duration has also been dropped from 5 seconds to 4 seconds, so you have a slight nerf to your sustainability overall in your fights, but you did get a nice little buff to your damage, so the damage that you do is more impactful. But like the trend of most of these balance updates, you'll just have to be more thoughtful about how you're using your kit. Next up, we have some nerfs to the Aquila, the heavy sniper. In my opinion, the Aquila is a little bit OP. Yeah, you are a sitting duck sometimes, but he is extremely survivable. I think this is just going to punish players that heavily rely on Aquila's flight kit and aren't as good about using some stealth components to snipe and be effective. You'll have to be a lot more strategic with your placement and how you engage your enemies. No more infinite flight shenanigans here. Your hovering cost has been doubled from 1200 energy per second all the way up to 2400 energy per second. The boost startup cost is up to 2800 from 2400. The cooldown has been increased from 24% to 34%. But you do get a slight break on your airborne energy cost being slightly lowered. So once you are in the air, you can stay up there a little bit longer, but gaining height is going to cost you. The Panaka got a very, very, very small change. Their lock-on range has just been increased from 450 to 550. So same formula, just done a little bit better, hopefully helping Panaka be a little bit more effective of a healer. So a slight change, just going to help Panaka get to their teammates a little bit easier to help them out in those sticky situations. Next up, we have the Inferno. The Inferno had a huge gap between the high and low tiers of gameplay. So these changes are really going to punish players on the higher end that were taking advantage of the energy consumption. But it's going to make the kit a lot more survivable and a lot more mobile for those lower end players. Your evade distance is up to 90 from 60. Your jump height up to 70 from 50. Dash and ascent speed have both been buffed. So energy costs are reduced across the board, but just expect more mobility, easier survivability, and more pick rates, but you will be punished for not paying attention to energy consumption. Last but not least, we have changes to the Serenith. I haven't had the opportunity to play the Serenith yet, but their grappler now adds stagger. The Ox 2 ability now cancels all debuffs. Insane. So no more Stellaris Hook. Evade and jump energy costs are reduced. Charged orbital shot is now up to 2200 per tick from 1850 per tick. So the underdog just got real here. I haven't played Serenith yet, but this sounds like it just got insane if it wasn't already before. So let me know if you guys are still running Welkin post-patch. That's all the changes I have for today. I will be bouncing around to some of the different mechs, especially with these new changes in play. I think a lot of the mechs that I've been sleeping on are a lot more viable now, and I'm excited to see how the balances have shifted in the multiplayer scheme. So anyway, if you like this, guys, once again, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys for staying tuned. I appreciate you all so much, and I hope you enjoy.